Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Red Devils TV. So, as we've discussed and as we've realised today, I've completely chosen the wrong word. I've already messed up the intro. But Mason Mount is officially signed for Manchester United, which is big news, is all I want to say. So, I'm joined with Ben, who has been on the channel before. So, Ben, just want to say hello.
All right, how is everyone doing?
So, let's just get right into the video. So, obviously, Mason Mount is officially signed for Manchester United. So, what's your first reaction to this signing?
Yeah, very happy. I've been pushing for him, ever since we got linked to him from the start. We all knew that Ten Hag really wanted him. He allows us to change our system up. He just adds loads of dimensions to the team, and end of the day, very happy with it.
Yeah, and obviously, as we know as well, Mason Mount's also been given the new number 7 shirt. So, do you think that it's just a number, or were you a bit surprised about that?
I was a bit surprised at first by him getting the number 7, but we've seen number 7 lost its magic anyway. We've had so many duds have it the last 15 years. It's no surprise, really.
Yeah, I agree on that. And what the thing is as well for me with Manchester United and giving Mount the number 7 is that you think back to mainly Cristiano Ronaldo and George Best.
Yeah.
Mainly by Ronaldo, when we gave him the number 7 shirt, he wasn't the Cristiano Ronaldo we know and love today. He was a young Portuguese lad who was given a chance and was given a very becoming iconic shirt. So for me, I feel like Mason Mount, could he have the same footprint as Cristiano Ronaldo? Definitely not, because that will never happen.
Yeah.
But Mason Mount for me is definitely a good enough player and has enough quality to be deserving of this number 7. And for me, when I first saw Mason Mount was not given number 7, I was a bit surprised because I was thinking that it is made to be for Garnacho. Obviously, Garnacho really.
It will be eventually.
Who did you say? Sorry.
It will be eventually.
It will be eventually. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just buzzing that we've signed Mason Mount. But obviously, he signed on a 5-year deal, which is brilliant. I mean, it's reported, 250 grand a week it is, and then it can be 300 grand a week after certain bonuses. Yeah. So with Mason Mount, obviously, we kind of just want to talk about how does Mason Mount fit into this starting 11. Now, as Ben's already mentioned, that we are now going to be able to change up our system. And Ben, obviously, I'll let you take the lead on this. But what do you think is going to be? Do you think there's going to be a significant change in the formation, or do you think it's just going to be slightly adjusted?
Well, we saw it in the last season. We're going to be changing from originally we started out with like a staggered midfield 3, so we had a 6, 8, and 10. Whereas now Mason Mount's coming in, he can play in the 10, he can play either side, but he's already come out and said that his favourite position is that 8 position. So it means we'll probably shift from Casemiro in the 6 on his own, and then we'll have 2 advanced 8s in Bruno and Mason Mount. It just means that end of the day, it's not a big difference, but it just means that we've got 2 dimensions instead of Eriksen was sitting that little bit deeper. It allows us to add more pressure from the front. So although on paper it's not too different, it just means that we've got more players in the final third, really.
Yeah, I agree, and especially with a player like Mason Mount. The reason, the way I look at this signing is that, yes, I'm over the moon with the signing with Mason Mount, but when I look at it, I don't see Erik Ten Hag's first priority was to have Mason Mount as his major priority signing. I am over the moon with this signing.
Yeah.
But I don't see him the Christian Eriksen replacement to be the ideal replacement signing. But like I said, I am over the moon with this signing with Mason Mount. And the fact that the way he carries the lead press, the front press, and he will bring us so much more dominating going forward. For me, this sign isn't about getting the extra goals and assists. It's having that extra man in midfield who won't back out of a challenge, who isn't a hologram like Christian Eriksen. And I personally feel like Mason Mount is just going to make us that edge bit better, because that's what he is. He brings that extra quality. And we saw it when Eriksen first started for us last season, that the quality and extra playmaking player brings us a lot for going forward. It's just like United just couldn't finish a chicken nugget happy meal at the moment. We struggle to score goals. And that's why with players we're linked to Højlund, eventually we will start scoring goals more. And with a player like Mason Mount bringing that extra playmaking ability, we're definitely going to start scoring more goals and creating more chances. So Ben, obviously I've just mentioned that Mason Mount isn't about goals and assists. Yeah. What do you think about Mason Mount? What type of player do you think he's going to be?
He will definitely be he's going to sit in that wide channel. He will help out a lot in creativity. Even though Chelsea were a bit awful last season, he didn't have a great amount of numbers. He created almost the same amount of chances as Eriksen did. So he is going to be the type of player that will create chances, and he's He's very good in the box. He's got a good composure on him. He'll get the ball. He's very good on the half turn. He's someone that, although his numbers weren't great last season, he's someone that has got an eye for goal, especially from set pieces. He's very, very good with delivery. So that's something that's going to be added. And you were saying that you were a bit surprised at our first signing. You didn't think he'd be first priority. But we have seen at times Eriksen has been outrunning the midfield, like we saw the City game multiple times. That although it's not the glamour signing we thought we could be getting, it's definitely one that will help.
Yeah, and I definitely agree on that sense. The way when I said that, I don't think it's the priority sign. I mean, like a striker or a new goalkeeper would be the
100%.
major signing, the more preferred signing. I'm not saying that he's not a priority because, again, like you said, we get massively outrun in the midfield, and especially with Christian Eriksen in the side. And you've got the likes of Scott McTominay, who isn't up to quality to be playing against Man Cities and Liverpools and stuff. So Mason Mount, who is Champions League quality proven, he's Premier League proven, and Erik Ten Hag is a massive admirer of his, so definitely he will be fitting into our system 100%. I just feel like that striker and a goalkeeper is more of a priority than what Mount is, but Mount is still a massive priority to us be signing. But going on to the next segment of that is how many goals and assists do you think Mount will get in his first season? Now, I feel like that I don't want this signing to be like a Jadon Sancho type situation where he flops and so many people compare him that he's crap and all that stuff, because I just feel like that I want to see United play more impressive and attacking football, because again, the way Erik Ten Hag has completely revived this squad in such a short space of time, so many United fans now are going to grow impatient of Erik Ten Hag and Manchester United. And I feel like Mount might come in with a target on his back. Like, if he doesn't succeed, no doubt he'll get pelters. So what do you think on that?
Yeah, well, we've seen it, haven't we, this season with Anthony? We've seen that when someone comes in for seemingly a big amount, Mount wasn't as much, but in terms of our budget, he's a big chunk of that. So he will come in, especially the number 7. He's going to come with a lot of pressures on his back. But I think he can cope with it. Like we said, he's won Champions Leagues. He's been big parts of Chelsea teams that have finished top 4. He's scored goals in big games. We've seen he knocked us out in the FA Cup before. So he can definitely show up. And in terms of goals and assists, I reckon we'll be sitting at about 15 goals plus assists next season, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be something that I'd love to see as well. And what I'm looking forward to seeing as well is the partnership him and Bruno Fernandes are going to show together, because, again, Christian Eriksen is a decent player, but again, for me, I think he's completely outdated. I think he's a massive defensive liability, as I mentioned many times last season. And with Mason Mount, at least he's not afraid to get stuck in, and he will track back. He will help lead the press. And again, Bruno Fernandes created the most chances out of any other player in the Premier League last season, and big chances. So I feel like that with Mason Mount having a midfield partner that is going to help him go forward, we'll probably see a better Bruno Fernandes. And definitely when we get a striker as well, we're also going to see a much better version. I just personally feel like we've got a massive bargain here with Mason Mount. And with 1 year left in his deal, it has been, let's say, it's been a bit of a division in the fan base. People saying that we've paid way too much. It's a £60 million deal overall, and especially with the low transfer budget we have got in 120 million, we've kind of already spent half of it already. So United do have to be very careful. But if our outgoings are correct with the likes of Dean Henderson, Donny van der Beek, as long as we're not selling them for pennies like we have done recently with Ethan Laird and Zidane Iqbal, no doubt United can still increase their transfer budget and still end up signing players like Onana and Højlund and maybe more. But Ben, obviously, I just want to ask you as well, is that did Chelsea actually want to sell Mason Mount in your opinion? Obviously, we know Chelsea are in desperate need as they're selling to Saudi Arabia left, right and centre. But do you think that they had to sell Mason Mount, or do you think they wanted to keep him?
I think the question is, if Chelsea wants to sell him, yes. Did Pochettino want to sell him? No. So I think that in terms of the player, they'll want to keep him. But it got a bit too sour towards the end of it. He just wasn't comfortable there. Yeah. And one thing that I've heard as well with Todd Bowley is he's not a big fan of promoting the youth in similar senses. He sees them as 100% profit. So if you can avoid playing them and sell them, you can bring in more money and spend more money. That's the way that he looks at it quite often. And in terms of Did they want to sell him? I think that, it just got too sour towards the end of it. They offered him a contract in December, then retracted it just before the World Cup. And at that point, I think it was all gone.
Yeah, I agree. And what I kind of also like about this as well is that Manchester United kind of still have that pull. And obviously, it's reported that Mason Mount was both Arteta's for Arsenal and Liverpool's Jurgen Klopp's priority signings for this summer, because obviously both them teams are in desperate need for midfielders. And Mason Mount still chose Manchester United because one apparently said that the vision that Erik Ten Hag sold him was much better and he preferred the move. So what are your thoughts on that? Because obviously Mason Mount is a Chelsea boy through and through, but do you kind of like the fact that United have actually won a transfer battle for once against these rivals that we do face and we do lose so many players out to? I mean, you think to Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez in recent times for Liverpool who have beaten us on transfers. So does that kind of give you a bit more like comfort about Mason Mount with this whole situation?
Yeah, well, it shows not only the steps that we're moving, but it also shows the fact that we've got a big manager. That's the difference. Is he's come here. Let's be honest, we're a massive club, but we wouldn't have got him a few years ago. He's come here because of Ten Hag, the vision that he's seen, the project that he's seen. I mean, as you mentioned, Liverpool and Arsenal, we've seen Havertz, Szoboszlai, and was it McAllister go to Liverpool. So it's clear that was a position they wanted to fill, and we were hearing it months ago that he's told them, "I'm going to United." So it's something that he's wanted to do. We've sold him a dream, and he's come to the theatre to fulfill it.
Yeah, and that's what I like to see, really, because it's kind of been a rumor that not many players who are United have signed in recent times actually want to join the club. They do just come for the payday. So it's kind of nice to see that a player like Mason Mount is coming for the vision, is coming for the dream, and does want to play for the club. And that's what I really respect about Mason Mount. And you know what, whether you want to say the wages are too high or not, it's the fact. It's the fact that Liverpool offered him the same contract, Arsenal offered him the same contract, and Chelsea offered him the same contract of 250 grand a week, but he still chose Manchester United. So when Liverpool fans are now saying that we've got Szoboszlai and he's on 150 grand a week, or Declan Rice is on 200 grand a week, or Kai Havertz on 200 grand a week, and they're all like saying that United have overspent on wages yet again. They offered him the same contract, and they're just, for me, I personally feel like they're jealous because they know of how good a player Mason Mount can become. And I feel like that with a manager like Erik Ten Hag, who has shown what he can do with a young prospect like Garnacho, with a player like Mason Mount, who's no longer a prospect and is just a young, very good talent, I'm looking forward to seeing how Erik Ten Hag develops and mentors Mason Mount, because as we know, Erik Ten Hag was originally a midfielder, then did move to be a defender in his playing career. So I personally feel like that with Mason Mount, I am really looking forward to this signing. And I think we've got a Chelsea fan here saying he is a snake. So I'm going to guess you're a Chelsea fan, mate.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next part, and it isn't really about Mason Mount. It is about Andre Onana. Now, with Andre Onana, he's Inter Milan's goalkeeper, who is a sensational goalkeeper. If you haven't heard much of him, you must have seen him in the Champions League final because he showed his class there. So, Ben, what are your thoughts on Andre Onana? Because for me, I really rate him highly as a keeper. I wouldn't have considered him a few months ago, but again, that just shows you of how many quality keepers there are in Europe and what Manchester United don't have. For me, David De Gea is still one of the best shot stoppers in world football. But at the end of the day, I also still... For me, I still think that he's one of the best shot stoppers in the world, but Andre Onana is one of them goalkeepers that's brilliant in all categories. So what do you think? And do you want to sign Andre Onana, or would you prefer someone else?
Yeah, going to the window, we all knew that we needed a new goalkeeper at some point. Yes, De Gea is still up there in terms of shot stopping, but he's just not right for the system we want to be playing in terms of progressive play. I think that going into the window, I was looking at David Raya, I was looking at Diogo Costa, and I was looking at Andre Onana. I was looking at Andre Onana as the dream signing because I didn't think we'd get him. But again, this seems to be another person that Ten Hag wants and wants to play for Ten Hag. And at the end of the day, he's an interesting breed of goalkeeper, let's put it that way. He's similar to like the likes of Bartes, and that he's very unorthodox. You don't quite know what he's going to be doing. He will allow us to build out from the back better as well because of how comfortable he is with his feet. He will come out, he'll sit at times like in between our back two, because when we build up for play, and it will literally, him personally will help us outnumbers the press. So he just adds so many new dimensions to the team, and yeah, he's personally someone that I would definitely go for.
Yeah, and what I kind of like as well is that with the vision that I'm getting from what Erik Ten Hag is selling me is that the first season is see what he can do, just get survive and get through it. The second season is when he starts to lay out the blueprint and starts to build his philosophy. We'll probably start seeing Man United dominate games more, win more games with higher percent possession, have more shots on target, and outrun the other team. That's kind of what I'm expecting to see from this season. And whether we win a trophy or not, I don't really mind still. I still just want to see the progress. And I mean, like Arsenal fans used to say throughout when Arteta first joined, trust the process. And then they had their Arteta out the shirts underneath the hoodies. But for me, it is all about trusting the process with Erik Ten Hag because he's shown what he can do in his first season. And with signings like Mason Mount and possibly Andre Onana, and then getting an elite striker, whether it is a Harry Kane or Mbappe, if you want to dream big or be realistic and sign Rasmus Højlund. For me, I think it's all about this season is seeing now, like I said, Erik Ten Hag laying out his blueprint. But I feel like that once United have got a very good keeper that is very good with his feet, like Andre Onana, a decent number 9, and we've sorted out our midfield, I personally feel like then United then finally can say that they've got a solid starting 11. I mean, that's when the following season or January, whichever one you want to say, United can then start building the squad and getting better players to actually improve the squad. And that's the way I see it with over a 3-year cycle of seeing Erik Ten Hag's vision. And that's what I'm looking forward to. So that's why I'm being patient with it all. But I am looking forward to seeing, and I do get excited when we are linked to certain players because, like I said, with Andre Onana, he's someone that I wouldn't have considered a few months ago. You do think of the big boy names like your Magnans, your Kobels, your Diogo Costas, and then Andre Onana, who's a Champions League final runner-up, who's done absolutely brilliant. And you know what? I personally would definitely have this signing. So what are your thoughts on that? And how do you see Erik Ten Hag's vision going?
Yeah. In terms of what you were saying last season, we saw him going into every game looking to beat the opposition rather than to play his style.
Yeah.
He hasn't got his style yet. And we've seen at times him try and play that system. We've seen him try and do his high press. But we saw when we tried that against the likes of Brentford and Brighton, it didn't work. We went back to the basics. We went back to playing to not lose again. And we got a bit of run of form. And then we got confident. We went to that City game. We lost, leveled ourselves down again. We, at times, were trying to find that system. And it never quite got there yet because he's someone that he loves pre-season. He loves to draw the players. He loves to try and get the system running. And last season, we bought our signings so late. The only person at the new signings that had a pre-season was Malacia. We saw Martinez come in, play his first game, was the last game of the pre-season. And then everyone else was just, they came in right towards the end and they just couldn't quite grasp the system throughout the season. It's been heavily known that we had such a bad schedule. We played so many games every week. And when that's happening, you just don't have time to get playing the way you want to. So in terms of next season, we will see a more refined style, how he wants to play. We've seen people we've linked to. He wants to play possession style football. He wants to control from the front. And we will see that next season, which, again, is another reason why we should bring in someone like Onana, because we want to play that high line. So we want to keep it that's progressive and is comfortable to sit pretty much like 30 yards off of his line waiting. And then when he gets the ball, to be comfortable with it and be happy to play forwards.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And obviously, you've pretty much hit the nail on the head right there. But what I want to talk about as well is that with obviously Erik Ten Hag's vision, it's kind of a key talking point about how, like you said, that he kind of went back to basics when he realized his formation and his style wasn't working with the bunch of players that he had. Because the way I'd like to describe it is that Erik Ten Hag was working with loads of different jigsaws from different eras of managers, and the Glazers were just there saying, right, make us one massive picture, and he's just there like saying the pieces don't fit together. Obviously, you've still got like players from Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and
we've got De Gea from Fergie.
You still got De Gea from Fergie. I don't know if we've got any Van Gaal signings or Moyes signings.
Luke Shaw.
Yeah, there you go then. So this is what I'm saying then. So still got so many different players
Yeah,
from previous eras. And like you said, at the start of the season, it didn't work out. I mean, yes, we beat Liverpool in our third game of the season, somehow winning 2-1. But Liverpool did go on to have a very unfortunate season for their standards. But then obviously they crawled back and did eventually get fifth place. But then we put like you said, the signings weren't done in time, and when we lost to like teams like City, when we lost 6-3, Ronaldo and Casemiro were on the bench,
yeah,
and that's the issue here because, and like you said, only Malacia was the only player last season to have a pre-season. So this is why I think Erik Ten Hag is all about getting these signings before pre-season. And like Simon Davis says in the comments here, that Rome wasn't built in a day. So that's pretty much the perfect analogy to say. And then obviously we spoke about Onana, and now we're going to speak about Rasmus Højlund. Now, obviously, Højlund for me is a very promising striker. He's only recently 19 years old. Or is he 20 now, I believe?
20.
Yeah, 20 now. So with Højlund, he's definitely a player that shows a lot of potential. And for me, I like to describe him as limitless potential, where he can develop into any striker that he wants to be. He's got the speed, he's got the aggression, and he's got all the attributes for an elite striker, in my opinion. But Ben, you wrote articles on Højlund, so just take it away and let the audience know all about Højlund.
Yeah, he is, as you mentioned again, he's very aggressive. He's very physical. He has the attributes to, like you said, be any player he wants to be. When he's at Atalanta, he played in a solo striker. When he was at Sturmgras, he played in a double striker system where he would often drift on the wings. So he's the type of person that we've seen Anthony and we've seen Rashford. Ten Hag likes his wingers to cut inside. He's someone that he can use that and he can overlap them and he can find those options in the half spaces. He's a striker that won't just sit in the box. He will get involved constantly, and he's very good on the ball. In terms of progressive carries and dribbling, he's one of the best out there. He's incredibly aggressive. His current manager has said that he reminds him a lot of Haaland, which big praise. Not going to go that far yet, but he has a lot of potential. As you said, he's still young. His movement is beyond his years, and he will only get better. And in terms of being a natural number 9, he's someone that we've been missing for far too long.
Yeah. And I kind of want to ask you about his distribution and stuff, because the way I see it is that people talk about the reason why they wanted Harry Kane is because he's a natural goal scorer, but he's also very good when it comes to playmaking. You think to that the partnership of him and Heung-min Son has developed over the last few seasons. What is Højlund's distribution like when it comes to laying off passes and stuff? Is he a pure target man, or does he also lay off the ball and help out his other teammates?
It's difficult to say. With Atalanta, a lot of their build-up comes from their wing-backs. He's usually known as a target man in terms of he's the last line of attack. So we haven't seen his playmaking ability too much. We saw it at times with Sturmgras when I think he picked up 5 assists in like 10 games towards the end of the season and the start of the next season. So we have seen it at times. He is very good with players overlapping him, but he's a player we haven't really seen enough of because Atalanta didn't play this big, quick attacking style, so we haven't quite seen it. But he's been very good when he's been in the national team. He's been a big focal point there. And in terms of goal scoring, people do like to bring up the fact that he scored 9 goals in the league, which, again, isn't great numbers. But in terms of minutes per goal, he was at about 180. So he would have, if he played the whole season, been about 18, 19. And throughout the whole season, I think he's on 20 goals, 5 assists for the club and country. Yeah. So he's at about a goal contribution.
He got a hat-trick against Finland, didn't he?
He scored 5 in 2 games.
Yeah, so and I think that's where, like, because that was just before the World Cup, wasn't it? And I think that's where he first became on United's radar. So with Højlund, I really like the look of the signing, but I still think we need 2 strikers. And for me, if you was to say to me, right, you can choose any 2 strikers in Europe, no matter whether their owners say they can stay or not. Who do you choose? Now, Ben, I'll let you go first because I already know who my 2 strikers are. But which 2 strikers would you choose if you could have any in Europe?
I think mine are the same as yours. I go Harry Kane and then Højlund.
You see, that's the thing. I'm not going Harry Kane.
You're going Osman?
No, I'm going Kolo Muani.
Kolo Muani, okay.
So the reason why I'd go for Kolo Muani is because I've seen his stats and he's got 40 goal contributions in the Bundesliga in his debut season, all season. And the fact that, again, for me, I think is because he's also a very playmaking type striker. Obviously, we've seen him on the wings for Frankfurt a few times, and Kolo Muani is someone that I've observed quite recently, especially in the Bundesliga. So my team in Germany is Dortmund. I do like watching Dortmund, but I do like to see the way Frankfurt have developed Kolo Muani, especially in his debut season for them. And they kind of experimented him in every position in the front line, central striker, right wing and left wing. And that's kind of where he's developed his assists from. So with a winger like Marcus Rashford, who for some reason is very debateful, and whether people say his best positions through the middle or the left wing, I personally feel like having an elite striker like Kolo Muani, who's young, very good on the ball, has a lethal shot on him, and is also very good when it comes to playmaking. That would also suit Rashford, and maybe whether it's Antony or Sancho on the right wing. For me, Harry Kane would be amazing, but and I wouldn't turn it down if we were linked to Harry Kane. But for me, I would personally rather Kolo Muani and Højlund, is because they're both two different strikers, and they'd be perfect for each other. Where, let's say, for example, if United need a goal and they need to create, you could bring on Kolo Muani and have a front two of Højlund and Kolo Muani for both. Where I feel like Harry Kane, yes, he's very good at dropping deep, but that's during the build-up in play. Harry Kane normally spends his time on the pitch over the halfway line, and that's where my issue is with Harry Kane. He does drop deep, but only in the build-up play. And when it comes to when they're on the counter-attack, Harry Kane's nowhere near the middle. He's always up front. And even though he scored 30 goals in the Premier League last season, for me, it is the age. And I just think that it's short-term success, but that's just how I feel about it anyway. But again, I just want to ask you as well, is that if we do sign, obviously we've signed Mason Mount, but if we do sign Andre Onana and Rasmus Højlund, where do you think United finish in the new season?
I think we do around the same again as we did this season. I reckon we get about third. I think it's a bit too early to be saying we're going to challenge, although we'd all love it, and we will. I think we will get closer because we finish like 20, 25 points off in the end. Maybe not that much, but I think that we will push more, but I don't think we're going to finish much higher. It all depends on everyone around us, to be honest. If City get their act together, they're signing the likes of Gvardiol, they're getting big players in. If they do what they do, they get 100 points, and I'll be happy with 80, 90.
Yeah.
We're not at a point where we can comfortably say we're going to actually come close to them, because they're the best team in the world. They just won the Champions League for a reason. So I think that we're building towards getting somewhere, but I don't think we're going to be there just yet. So I think I'd be happy with around third and perhaps another trophy.
Yeah, and for me, the way I look at it is that even if United finished fourth, for example, but we got more points than last season, I would consider that a better season. Now, obviously, I would like to also win another trophy, whether it is the Carabao Cup again or the FA Cup, and maybe even the Champions League. A boy can dream. But for me, I would like to see United do have another decent cup run, and whether we lose in the final, I want to see United in the semi-finals, at least in a certain cup competition, because it shows that United are getting up there with the better sides, and we are becoming a more dominant threat once again. And like I said, with Andre Onana, I personally feel like that the goalkeeper position is very undermined in a way. Like, yes, I really respect David De Gea for being an elite shot stopper, but the way Erik Ten Hag wants to play football is with having a player like Andre Onana as his goalkeeper. And I feel like as well, that's kind of one of the main reasons why we didn't really see Erik Ten Hag ball last season, because obviously we couldn't play out from the back. We had to pass it to the goal. We had to pass it to the centre backs and then play the pass. So that's just the way I look at it. So going off what you think, who do you think's the next signing? Do you think it's Andre Onana, Højlund, or do you think it's someone else?
I think in terms of concrete interest, it is looking mostly like Onana, although we've said how important he is going to be. So I think it should be Onana next, and then we'll look at the likes of Højlund next after that. I think that those are the two priority positions, is striker and the number 9, or is a striker and goalkeeper. So hopefully it's those two. We've not really been linked to very many others, like you mentioned about Kolo Muani with loosely, but I think it will probably be Onana, Højlund, and then we'll probably look at perhaps a backup or a stopgap striker if we can afford it, the likes of a Taremi. And then we'll look at, we've also been linked to the likes of Amrabat, who's looking at around 30, 35 million. So I think we're hopefully we fix our striker position and we actually get a goalkeeper, because the only ones on our books right now is Henderson and Heaton. So that we want to get rid of Henderson, so we can't just go into the season of Heaton in goal. So I think that Onana will probably be next.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case, because I feel like at this point now, not having a goalkeeper or an elite goalkeeper at the club is the next big priority. And I definitely think that Andre Onana is the next big signing for Manchester United. I mean, we've recently had our bid rejected. We haven't even bidded for Rasmus Højlund yet. So definitely, I feel like that Onana will be the next player to join Manchester United, or maybe another goalkeeper. I just hope it's not the Justin Bijlow from Feyenoord. I just haven't seen enough of him. And I just think that if you're going to replace David De Gea and get someone like Bijlow, it's just a massive downgrade in my opinion. And you might as well keep De Gea for the money you would pay. You probably pay about 20 million for Bijlow. So for me, you definitely would want to keep someone like David De Gea in that case, because from what I've heard of Bijlow is not the best in my opinion. But anyway, that's been the show, Ben. You've been a great guest as always. Obviously, you're always welcome on the channel anytime. Thank you.
Pleasure.
I don't think you brought your fan club with you this time, but hopefully next time. We've just got a little comment here from Kimmich just saying, and not the actual Joshua Kimmich, I'm going to guess it is a fan account, but he did say that, if you wouldn't mind me asking, what's the Greenwood situation right now? Can he make it in the starters because he's very lethal? Ben, I'll let you ask this. I mean, you can mention Greenwood's name on my channel, but it's just the fact that I personally would, the way I see the Greenwood situation going is that we're going to loan him out next season for the year. His contract does end next season as well. So I think it can either go one of two ways. United keep him because he does really well, or we'd be like, we don't want anything to do with you. We're parting ways, and we're just letting you get used to football again so you can actually gain some attention for when you leave. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think you keep Greenwood or not?
I think we are going to loan him out, and I think as we should. He's, regardless of what you think of him, I don't really want to see him again, but he's not ready to play. We've seen the pictures of him. He's so slim. He's not at the level where he should be. So we will loan him out to see what sort of levels he's at. We've seen the links to like Roma, but I don't think that's going to happen because him and Mourinho don't have a very good relationship. So I think that we will see him out on loan, and we'll see where it goes from there. The whole situation was United. It went the way the United didn't want to go. They wanted to have a verdict from the court, which never came. They didn't want to deal with the situation, and they're at a point now where, because they weren't preparing to deal with the situation, they don't really know what to do, and no one does really. So we're just going to have to, I think we're going to do the whole thing of, we'll loan him out, we'll push it down the road, and we'll give us a year to figure out what the hell we're going to do with it.
Yeah, and that's a great way of looking at it, in my opinion, as well. But like I said, Ben, you've been an amazing guest as always. Thank you, everyone that's tuned in this evening. And we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So please share the channel around if you are new, and subscribe if you're new, and just let your friends know. We do go live between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, majority of each night, whether it's a normal video or whether it is a live stream. So make sure you do tune into that. And yeah, thank you for everyone that is tuned in. Thank you everyone in the comments. And Ben, thank you for tuning in.